Recording started. All right. Welcome to the 11 December Laser SIG. We've got Tom Bunch is going to talk to us tonight about some of the stuff he's been posting on our that you've seen on the blogs with different things on his diode laser. And Travis is going to give us a small blurb on some Cinemark, the spray on that you use for metal to etch metal with.
Yeah. Hey, Alan, could I do a little intro for Tom?
Sure.
Only because, you know, you and I were discussed the projects that Tom was posting. I don't know, I guess most of you folks probably are users of the forums. And every once in a while, we get somebody from far afield who becomes a part of our San Diego community here. And Tom is from outside of Nashville. And so he showed up and he started to contribute lots of different kinds of projects. And there was a certain aspect to what he was doing, which I particularly found kind of exciting, which was he was new to lasers and he was new to the software, and he was just purchased an Ortur, and he was just trying all sorts of stuff. But it wasn't just that he was trying it and saying, oh, I didn't get a good result. I guess I don't like this laser, and I guess I don't like this software, and I think I'm going to walk away from this hobby. No, this guy went ahead and kept at it, and he then got good results, and he moved on to another thing, and he got good results. And I just thought, this might be interesting. And I talked to Alan about whether or not we might ask him to be just sharing his experiences with us. And thankfully, Tom was open to that because it's somebody who came in from the cold. I mean, it's not as though he's like a longtime maker. It's not like he's been dealing with the kinds of things we like to play with. He's new and he's just been reveling in it and he's been getting results. And I just think it's a great story. So after talking with Alan about it, we decided we'd reach out to Tom. And thankfully, Tom's willing to stay up late. As I said, he's in Nashville. But that's really all I wanted to do to set the stage. Because he may take 15 minutes, he may take 30 minutes, whatever he takes. This is just his story. And when he's done winding down, we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic. But Tom, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll just now put the spotlight on you, or Alan, since you're the host, if you wouldn't mind putting the spotlight on him.
No, I appreciate it. You know, like we was talking about, Travis, I had ordered the laser, and I had already watched y'all's guys. You had a video out in reference to the Ortur 1. And when I seen it, I was already watching laser videos, but I was getting more and more interested in it. And then I started going to different groups, basically just looking at different lasers, trying to figure it out. And something that I could get into that was not expensive. I mean, with the LaserMaster 2, it's not an expensive unit, but I was able to start that, and it's already led me to wanting, you know, something else. But I don't see me getting rid of this because I've got my settings. I know what I'm doing with that, and I like what it's done. But with me, I'm prior military, out of the military now, went into law enforcement, and now I'm fixing to retire from law enforcement, but I still have enough years. I want to do something. There's too many times when you retire or you hear about people retiring, they don't do nothing. This thing's overcome me. I mean, I've fished, hunt, and now I find myself on the weekends trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to turn into a Vec? What am I going to fix up? But yeah, I like it a lot. Some of the things that I learned from you guys just off of the videos, and it helped me get some other equipment. I'm sure some of y'all guys has got some big old shops, but when my girls moved out and it's just me and the wife, she kind of put me back here in the man cave where one of the kids used to be. And I kind of moved everything off to the side, and I got my little chunk of heaven that I can come here and relax. So some of y'all probably already know what that is too. But anything exact or particular you'd like to know about or talk about?
Well, you know, Tom, I don't think people at least heard that you were in law enforcement and what that meant. You were in the military and then in the police department, and for how many years?
Oh Lord. 12 years military active, and then went National Guard. I've got 26 years of law enforcement. So I'm ready to retire.
And I was commenting to Tom that Tom seemed to be doing it right. While he was heading towards retirement, he was ramping up on other things that would fill his time. And from what I've seen, he's really into this. So this is going to be good.
Oh Lord, yeah. I'm going to, I guess I'll show y'all guys the laser first, or just show you what I've got set up here. It's not letting me turn this around.
Is it a stock laser, or have you added anything?
It's everything stock. I've not changed anything. The only thing that I have put on it was some brackets and stuff to hold it on, but it's a 15-watt laser. And I'm trying to get this phone turned around for some reason. It was working good when Travis and I was talking.
I broke it.
That's what it always is.
All righty.
There you go.
All right, but which one? Let's see. So you're only looking. What the heck? Yeah, you're only looking at me. It's not showing anything.
No, we're going to take care of that.
No. We're seeing. We've pinned it. So whatever you're showing we're seeing your face up from your phone now.
Bingo.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Tom, you remember how we were going to switch the camera so you could see what you were showing us?
Yeah. That icon's not showing up on me, but
yeah, if you just touch the screen, then it should show up and you can then toggle.
All right. The as far as the laser goes, there's nothing different than just ordering a stock laser. But as I progressed, as I went on and read more, the Ortur Laser group, as far as on Facebook, I mean, I go on there, ask questions, and the people are great. But the only add-ons that I've added to this is the Z-axis. As far as that helps me out when I'm doing mirrors. If I'm doing smaller objects, I can lower, raise it. One of the things I'd like to ask y'all guys is on I've got a little cheat sheet card right here. And I actually have two points as far as I can use. I have 35 and I also have a 42 millimeter. If I'm at either one of those two.
Yeah, Doug, what he's saying is he seems to have two focal points where he gets good focus. And I know that you've messed with that perhaps the most on the tour. He was just curious how that could be possible.
Yeah, well, I'm not an optics guy, but as we've seen even from what Tim mentioned, with that adjustments, you can adjust variable focal lengths. There is still an ideal position, and that's usually pretty darn close. I mean, up around like 25 millimeters or so.
I gotcha.
But at that, when you're that close, you're also going to be risking getting smoke into your lens and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, see, I don't have any air fixed up, but due to the dust and stuff that comes off the mirrors, what I've done is, like right here off the side, I've got a fan that I can put in behind it and blow that stuff immediately out of the way.
Air assist.
Well, that's a Tennessee air assist. How's that? But I got it fixed up, and there's different guys that sold them, and I just picked one. It works great. I can adjust, raise, lower. A little bit after that, I went ahead and ordered the legs to go ahead and put it on. And I'm sure y'all guys are all familiar with this. I went ahead and put me a sacrificial board over a piece of plywood, got on the Ortur group, and downloaded the grids that went with it. But after fixing that up, I found out that my burns were a whole lot straighter, a whole lot better. When y'all guys got your lasers, did everybody basically start out with tiles, or canvases or anything like that. I know for me, it was most of the things I saw was tiles.
I think Doug and Alan went whole hog on tiles.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't do it on the, I did mine on my big laser.
Oh, okay.
On your big one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did mine on the small ones. Yeah, it's a neat little tool. It's,
Well, I'm sure y'all have seen that one. It's when I started out, that's the first thing I did was do my painted tiles. You know, I see everybody else. I watch the YouTube videos. And with this is blaze orange paint, 2 coats over a white tile with a single layer of black paint. And I did my different burns, but what I was looking for is that silver at 10 power at 1500 down in the middle on the bottom. And I wanted that specifically because of the tiles that I was doing. And I'll show you a picture here in a little bit for some Marine Corps coasters that a guy was wanting. But when I first started also with just a white tile, I was getting really bad results. I mean, it was just barely skimming, and I'm bad for notes and renotes. And I showed Travis a notebook, probably about 1 inch thick, but it's got a lot of failures in it. There you go. I see that, Doug.
The paint. I mean, I'm also on the Ortur Facebook page, and there was a guy who, this was many months ago, posted something. I think it's called Norton's technique or something. And I looked and searched, and I found, you know, the type of paint that they used. When I went to Home Depot, they had like 2 of the white paint. So I got one that was just white, and one was like white with primer. And I did 2 tiles, one with each paint, and did the different speeds. And sure enough, it was a big difference between those 2 paints. And as you can see, also this, you know, the speeds have an effect. But yeah, the paint and how much paint you put on it.
There you go. And see, Doug just hit exactly what I was getting ready to show, because we must have been on the same track, because I found that other paint and it just come out 10 times better. And after I played with the power a little bit, you know, I was able to get it at least as dark as I wanted to.
Yeah.
But
now, Tom, that one you just showed us, you had put the paint on, you did your etching, you washed the paint off, and what you've got there is a permanent dark image on tile, right? You can't scrape it off.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, I even tried a scraper on it because, you know, I just wanted to see, and no, it didn't scratch, it didn't pop off. Whereas if a painted tile, you know, the slightest nicks on those things start showing, at least I'm seeing, unless y'all guys got a different way of doing it.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is the multicolored, the one where he layered first orange and then black.
Yeah.
That right there, I mean, it's really, and Tom's probably going to talk about this, how important how much paint you put on it is to get consistent. But essentially, you're not going all the way through, like with the white. With the white, you go right down through and you actually mark the surface of the tile. With the multicolored one, you're just taking a little bit of paint off. So what happens is you essentially have your design in the paint. So you have to coat that with something to protect it.
Got it.
Did you notice, Doug, that when you did coat it, say if you sprayed it with a clear coat or something, it gave it a crinkle effect? The paint would kind of, it would, I don't know, spider web, for lack of better terms.
I've seen that on other people's design. I have not done the multi-layered paint.
Yeah,
I've only just read and observed and kept track of what it's doing and how they're doing it. And but I have seen people getting that crazy crinkle.
Yeah, it was. It worked out good for Halloween. It gave it that good effect.
Texture.
Yeah, but it was something that was undesirable after a while. But I've got some pictures that I'm gonna pop up here in just a second of what was it? It was actually going to be the Marine Corps tile.
Okay.
And the Marine Corps tile had a kind of an orange hue. And the reason it did is I didn't put that paint on there, just like you were saying, Doug. That's all it was.
We're doing it by hand,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a visual thing. So, and we're basically taking off a partial layer in that technique. You're only taking off a little bit of the top layer of paint sometimes. So it's it's going to take a lot of practice and just get a feel for, you know, what's the right thickness of paint.
Well, after I started doing the tiles, and then I started doing the white tiles and getting those fixed up. Up here, we've got a lot of, and I've said it on the group in reference to reclaimed barnwood, and these people go crazy over it up here. I don't know what it is, but if you can lay your hands on any type of reclaimed wood, and heck, y'all probably already know that. People want that stuff, and I've got friends that see something and they're like, hey, wait a minute, I want this, I want that. Can you burn this? And the last thing I want it to be is a job. This is fun to me.
Right.
I mean, I enjoy the daylights out of it. I like making stuff for other people, and you kind of get more fun just giving it away just so they can have it.
Yeah.
But
well, it was actually when you started. It was actually when you started to post images on this reclaimed wood that I started to really take notice, because if you look at the stuff that, say, Sam or other people here, you know, crank out on a regular basis, we start with these clean slates. You know, we've got Baltic birch, and it's nice and white, and it's not got a lot of flaws, and, you know, we get good results on that. And here you were using a 15-watt diode laser, which is more like 5 watts, and you were using a textured, weathered, exposed to the elements piece of wood. And through your iterative process, you got some pretty darn good results. So I started to really start noticing your work when you were persistent enough to actually claw out good results, even on wood that wasn't like a white sheet of paper, which the tiles and the
right here's a
birch
plank.
are.
This is one of the ones you're talking about, but you know, this had came off of the barn, and this is a section. I've got to quit that wiggling. Y'all guys gonna get sick on me. This is just a chunk of wood that I was going to use for something else, or as far as the burn goes, but I wanted to find out what the burn's going to take. What am I going to, you know, do my settings on? And you can see actually different lines as far as where I was going through adjusting, and then finally got to where I wanted it. This one here, one of our canine officers, I did.
Can you go up closer to the dog? Can you go up closer? Yeah.
And I don't know if you're gonna be able to.
There you go.
But in doing this one right here, this was even rougher than the wood that I did the burn on. But if you can, and this camera don't give it justice, but if you can make that nose look wet, man, it's awesome. I mean, when you do that. But it took so much burning, because I think this was the second piece of wood, and the other one was just charred all the pieces, trying to find the right settings. And y'all guys have certain settings that y'all like to, I mean, you know, that you're going to use on a certain piece of wood?
There's a guy on this call who is like the king of tables. His name's David Collins. And the answer to that question from him would be, oh, yeah, of course. Am I right, David?
I mean, it depends on the laser, but there's a lot of testing involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, here's another piece of wood. And I think I posted this on our group as far as when I got the picture done, but same type of wood, at least I thought. And then when I actually got my actual piece of wood, it's a little bit wider, but I did different lines as far as seeing what my, what's the best burn. And you can actually see where I'd written down different numbers. And I came up with this one right here. Well, for this piece of wood, it was good. And I had it set at speed 1000, power 30. And I thought, okay, that's good to go right there. Well, when I finally got my actual piece of wood that I was going to use, it was not exactly what I thought it was going to be, because you can probably see how white or how much whiter this piece of wood is right here compared to that other one. So what I done was I just started burning and playing with different settings. And then up here, I thought, well, okay, that's good to go, because this, it's actually one of the pieces of wood that I bought. Now that can get expensive though, because
Right.
kind of bad for wanting to do tests, but you know, you gotta use the exact same wood you got. But I had a picture of that one on there. But and then I moved on to glass. I didn't see. Have any of y'all done mirrors?
I've done acrylic mirrors, not glass, but the same technique probably. You etch on the back, right?
Yeah. Etch
so
on the back. How do you get it? I thought that the acrylic shot through, or is that the fiber laser that goes through the glass and acrylic?
The acrylic worked fine. Yeah.
It's just a power setting. When I did the acrylic stuff, it was for my daughter's birthday, and I did the names of the kids and etched it, and then I basically then outlined and cut it out. So I just, you just work with the power, but it's a CO2 laser. And that's what I was going to bring up about the wood coloring. I think because the diode lasers are more in the visual light spectrum, more susceptible to whiteness, the color of the wood. Whereas I think the CO2, once you move to a CO2 laser, I think you're going to see a little bit less of that effect with the infrared.
Have any of y'all noticed that if you had, instead of a plain piece of wood, a lightly stained or a stained piece of wood, on one of the posts that I did with the group, I forgot what the power, I think it was like 1500 at 50 power, and that's for this laser here. It didn't burn it. It etched down in it. It almost was as if I had routed it out. Did any of y'all see that?
Yeah, it was darker and it went deep.
Yeah, it went deep.
And I think it was because of the darkness, the ability for it to absorb the energy as opposed to reflect. Like one thing you might try is you've got that white sample piece that you did.
Yeah.
That you just had up there. Try putting a little stain on a section, and then going ahead and etching across the stain and then across the white. And I think you'll see that the stain will allow the energy to be absorbed and
give it more of an engraving,
give it more depth, more depth into it. And that's where it's this lots of trial and error based on the surface of the material.
Or just bite the bullet and go buy you a piece of walnut and try it on it.
I'm gonna, after we get done tonight, I'm gonna post a picture. I lucked out. One of my guys came to me and said, "Hey, I've got a tree that has fallen back here in the backfield. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "What kind of tree is it?" He said, "That old nasty walnut tree." He said, "I used to put green." Hey, I almost took off work right there, but I ended up getting some nice slabs. Now they're not going to be done until this time next year probably, but I got them all cut up. They're pretty. And you can't beat free wood.
Hey Tom, just for your information, over the course of the last few years, David Collins has done a lot of testing, and he has this particular pattern that he uses in some of his grayscale testing. He's put that into the chat channel. So after you're done presenting, you might want to take a look at the link that he put in there, because it could be really useful to you when you're starting with a new piece of wood and want to figure out what the right settings are.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Well, I was going to tell you, like the glass, we was talking about that on the back of the glass, get it out of here. This is my test piece, but you know, you see all just different power settings or whatever, but when you do find the good one, on the back of it, I was writing my settings down as far as different ones if it looked good. And then that is what I went back in to Lightburn, and I guess you call it a vector, right?
Yeah.
The vector that was made up, and after I got all my powers and speed and everything set up, I went ahead and saved it. But I don't have to. I mean, heck, now it's just pull it and play.
Yeah, and this is really going back to what Doug was saying earlier about how with the spray cans on tile, it was so much the technique. How much paint did you lay down? You couldn't be super consistent. But when you're buying the same mirror, you know that the back of it is going to be the same. And so you can very predictably get results. And those are great looking results.
Yeah, this one here, for some reason, the patches, it was hard. I took a picture of it, and then, you know, trying to trace wasn't working. And basically, I mean, heck, you had to really go into it and tweak and tune. But I finally got that one fixed up.
That looks great. Is that your finished product?
This one here is finished.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've got to do is I've got a guy, he's in school right now, but when he comes back, he's going to give me the information that I need. But he's got a small picture that he's wanting me to burn on it. Well, he's got to get it at the house. So I told him, I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it.
Tom, can you bring that closer to the camera? I want to see. It looks like there's a little bit of.
Boy, I'm having problems with being able to see.
There's a little bit of edging on the. Thought I saw some roughness on the edges of the letters.
Yes.
See. So one of the techniques is the outline and fill.
Oh yeah.
Which basically will do the etching first, and then it basically runs around the letters and does just the outline, and it just cleans the edges. Really,
so that takes that little bit of fuzziness away.
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent. See, I told you, Travis. I come here to learn.
Agreed.
Connecting to the internet. It looks like an issue with the router and echo device, so try restarting them. Unplug both of them.
You guys are making my Alexa go crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, something's going over, but I'm sure all of y'all have got the little the cabinet full of all kinds of trinkets and toys.
Cabinet, I got a whole garage full of that stuff.
Hey, please let my wife know that you have a garage full of stuff, so she doesn't. I mean, she tells me I've got too much stuff.
I have a 3-car garage that you can put 6 Jettas. Well, before I moved in, you could put 6 Jettas in it. Now you can't get a bicycle in it.
Blame the comic books.
Well, yeah, part of it's my son owns a comic store, and that's the storage place for some reason this summer. But
that's not
true. I'm going to go ahead and I had those pictures that I was going to tell you. It says only host can share.
Is that back on your computer now, Tom, or is that on your phone?
Let me unlock. Go back to the other one. There you go.
Okay, Tom, we're on the computer now.
All right. I'm trying to, here we go. On the phone portion, it's telling me that the only thing that I can do, or basically I was waiting on the administrator to let it go so I could start sharing screen.
Okay, now you can.
All right. There we go. But as far as I mean, everything that we had basically talked about, Travis and I was talking earlier in reference to the progression, because y'all guys, some of the work that I've seen y'all guys put out and some of the work that I'm seeing from the other groups and stuff, how many years, I mean, who's got the most, how many years have y'all been doing this?
Wait. It's not so much years. It's a measure of fanaticism. I'm looking at Randy right now. And Randy got his laser, what, 3 years ago, Randy? Something like that?
Just about 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And how many distinct items do you suppose you've cranked out on your laser?
I don't know.
Hundreds and hundreds, right?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah, exactly. So Tom, it's a matter of fanaticism.
I got you. I've got some pictures up. I don't know if it's the full screen for everybody.
Yeah, it looks good.
You know, these was the tiles that I was telling you about after the testing. And here you got
Actually, your phone sounds like, I'm going to try to mute your phone.
Oh, that was mine.
Oh, it was yours? Oh, okay, sorry. You're fine, Tom.
Okay. Doug, a while ago, we was talking about the oranges coming through. If you can, you know, some of these places that with inside of this on the emblems, these was the ones I did it, looked at it, and ended up, it was like, I don't like it, because you can see the orange coming in. And that is where not being consistent, going through and being consistent with that paint.
Just out of curiosity, Tom, did you put any coating over this, like Doug was saying, to prevent it from maybe being scratched, or were these just tests you didn't keep?
These 4 here were tests. You know, I did it and I thought, okay, this is going to be good to go. Well, after I looked at it, I saw the orange. Then I was thinking, you can see some of the little nicks and stuff, and I thought, I've got to put something on this to protect it.
Yeah.
So what I done was I took a clear coat, as far as the spray goes, sprayed it, and it just gave it a crinkled effect. I mean, it's spider web. That's the best thing I can say for it. Every bit of the black paint. And so I went ahead and done it the way that I tried to be more consistent with it, but there's always that little bit, you know, something coming through. And if you put 2 coats on, you've just changed your power.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know,
let's just see if anybody here knows of tile that is already layered with different colors that would be consistent. Has anybody found anything like that? Guess not.
I think you're just going to have to paint it yourself. You're not going to be able to get paint to do it.
Yeah, I was just thinking there might be a product out there. You know, you have particle board, and then it's got melamine on it. So it's just happens to be a special kind of use. And so I was just wondering if anybody had come across something like that. It may have been used in a particular situation, like, I don't know, maybe specialty bathroom tiling or something. But if not, that's cool. I was just wondering, this is a chance, Tom, for us to ask if anybody here had come across it. Is this more of that reclaimed wood?
Yeah, this is a piece of reclaimed flooring, actually. And what I'd done was, I don't know how much of this wood I went through trying to get detail, because it has a finish on it already. And I was finally able to get the building fixed up and did this one for a guy where we work at. It's actually the state of Tennessee burned out or cut out. But trying to find, you know, even if you get reclaimed wood, there's different types. Barn wood, the texture and the burn, because you might have that old wood has the saw marks on it.
Yeah.
So I might be lasering right here at 35 millimeters, and then there's a ridge that jumps it up or drops it down, one of the two. And it really gives you some gaps and stuff. This is an older piece of wood, came off of an old barn, and you could actually take your fingers and pinch it on the edges. If you look at the top, that's actually where I pinched off the really soft stuff. On this one here, as far as burning it, low power. It was really low power because I've got some stuff that was down below it that looks
Is it pulpy? Is it like really soft wood?
It's really soft.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just really weathered. This next one was it's a reclaim. What it was is a church piano, and the side walls on that church piano, that wood, I was able to lay hands on it, and I cut a plaque out. This guy gave me a picture of the bear that he had taken up in Maine, and he wanted the outline of Maine, and he wanted this picture put on there. And I went ahead and cut me a little section, did some tests, and finally found, I mean, the detail in that gun, I don't understand how it did that. I mean, it's almost like it just barely glazed that thick coating and gave it a shiny look. I mean, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
But
where's the rest of the guy?
Well, that one right there, that was when he just wanted the bear. He just wanted that bear and that gun. He wanted that fixed up. And I said, okay, good to go. I told him, I said, I'm going to try to go ahead and burn that gun. I mean, burn the rest of you. Well, the problem is if you go back to that and look at it, you see how dark the sides are?
Yeah. That's
actually wood line. And no matter how I set that, I couldn't get that wood line to come out right there. And it had to have been something to do with that coating. But I've got something that, you know, after he saw that, I gave it to him. He asked me if I could do him a whole round. And I told him, yeah. But this one here's another one. I just inlaid it with some challenge coins. You can see, the graying on the bottom of that piece of wood. That's the reason the wording's above it. That wood is really, really soft also. So if I'm burning a 35, if I drop down into that white, you'd think I was throwing 80 at it or something.
And this is a really good example of where you can see the saw marks.
Oh yeah. You can see the raises and it just, on a fine detail, on this right here, it doesn't really matter much because I'll burn it pretty good to get a good burn in it.
Yeah.
But for a detailed picture, it gets a little rough.
Tom, back on that bear shot. I think as you get into this, you're also going to find yourself getting more familiar with graphic editing software, where like for something like that, you could possibly do some edge detection or edit out. There's just lots of stuff you can do with some of these software things. Like for instance, the outline of the guy, if you go through and select the outline of the guy, you can create a layer, a mask, where you could now apply a lightning technique to lighten the stuff around him.
So bring that shadow out.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically to lighten that up a bit so it doesn't burn so dark. So I think as you get going, you're going to find yourself spending time in graphics packages too.
Hey, Doug, can you share what package you use?
Yeah.
I use GIMP.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got GIMP with the plug-in. GIMP.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
I do have that, but the problem is when I take my picture and go over to GIMP, and what's that plug-in called? The big Gimping?
Something like that. The big Gimping, yeah.
I'll go in, I'll click it. Everything matches the way that he said. Click on it. Once I click on it and go to save it, it saves it as a CVS file or some other file, and Lightburn won't read it.
Maybe you need to export it to get the right format.
So then you go into Inkscape will read those files, and then you can convert it to an SVG, and then you can read it in a Lightburn.
So 6 software packages later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. What exactly to use, but seems like.
Well, what else do other people use?
Probably Photoshop, right? I mean,
No, that's you got to pay $10 a month for that. A lot of people aren't going to do that. What else do people
Okay.
use? There's GIMP. There's Inkscape.
Real? Is that one of them?
I'm surprised. Sam, what do you use?
Hey guys, this is John, and I'd like to ask a question if that's okay. I'm totally new, not only to this group, my first time on this group, but just joining the organization. I live in San Diego. I'm in North County. I spoke to Gary today. I don't know if you guys know Gary, but
Sure, we all do.
I'm so stoked. I mean, this is amazing stuff for me. And I've got a lot of projects going on, and I primarily want to join, not so much for the laser stuff. So you guys are way over my head. But the software packages, and because I have a graphic design background and I'm into computer technology. So what is the best software? And that, I guess you're asking that question, but does it need to be raster? Like I don't know. I don't have an equipment yet.
So let me just give you a real quick answer, and you're welcome to get back with us. But the basic answer is that you use vectors for all of your scoring, which is where you're simply following a line.
Lines, yep.
Then when you want to actually do an area, so if we look at what he's got on the screen right now, you see the dog. Yep. There's no way to do that dog if you're just following a line, unless you're doing it as we used to do in old televisions. You scan back and forth. Right. So we use raster images in there. The Ethel, beloved canine partner, could actually be vectors, and it just fills inside of the closed vector.
Yep.
So it's a combination of vectors and raster images, and they're treated differently in the software. And there are some good decisions you can make in getting better results. Doug pointed out a really good one. For instance, the word Ethel right there, if it had been a raster image, it would have left a sort of jaggedy edge on the left and right sides of the vertical lines. Yep. Well, you can also tell it then to trace the outside of it if it was a vector, and it would then clean up those edges. And so there are little tricks to getting good results out of this. Yep. Basically, whether you're putting in a vector or a raster, there are different ways of treating it. Rasters can only be scanned, going back and forth and back and forth, changing powers to get the different darknesses. But vectors can either be just followed, or if they're closed vectors, you can fill in the vector. Yeah. Basic rules inside of the design software that we use for controlling output onto the laser.
And the best software is Lightburn. Is that what everybody is using?
I'm gonna see what Tom says.
I understand. I'm Tom. Before you, I understand the difference between vector and raster, and that's always been a challenge. I actually managed a service bureau in Los Angeles in the late '90s, and we used to do digital output on large format canvas. And it's the same problem. It's like, how do you get those clean lines? You have to follow PostScript rules, and you've got to do all this stuff. So one of the reasons I joined, and again, thank you. I don't want to be too pedestrian because you guys are awesome. This is so cool. And Tom, oh my God, for a newbie or to this group, what you're doing is awesome. I mean, it's so cool. But I guess because I'm a Photoshop. I used to work for Adobe. I have all the graphic skills, but putting it together into Lightburn and getting the laser equipment. So again, low level beginner question. How do you if Lightburn is the only software these devices use, because I don't have one yet, I need to get one. My project is a high-end hardwood chessboard, right? And I don't know if my camera is going to capture the details.
Actually, why don't we actually allow Tom to unshare his screen for just a second? and then we'll allow you to show what you've got there, John.
Sorry. Again, I feel like I shouldn't have even spoken because you guys are so advanced, and
Your
I
enthusiasm is great.
Yeah.
apologize for interrupting you guys. So continue. I'll just keep walking.
No, we're looking at you now, John. Go ahead.
Too bad you couldn't afford a bigger monitor.
Right. Okay, yeah, we see that. Yeah, yeah. Let's get it big. Hold on, let me spotlight you. There we go. Now you've muted. John, can you unmute? Okay, go ahead.
So it's hardwood. This board is walnut and poplar, and I've done all the finishing work. I have one side is gloss, and the other side I haven't finished yet. I'm still doing the filling, but it's going to be really, high quality chessboard, and I want to do some specific engraving on each individual. I'm going to do a few of these for Christmas presents, and I want to not only do it for now, but I'd like this kind of to be a hobby of mine. So anyway, that's my project. And
so John, just so you know, as a quick aside, we have a guy in the shop, maybe somebody can help me remember his name, who makes these remarkable chessboards. He does he actually gave a presentation to us on using resins for creating the pieces. And then he uses laser etching to create really distinct patterns on the boards themselves.
Yep.
We should put the two of you together so you can at least chat about this. Larry wants your display there. Can he have your display, the one that's there showing the...
Funny, I like the vertical. I just started using the vertical because when you have like the website we were looking at that was just recently shared, if you have a website or a page, like say for me, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, the scrolling, you can scroll up and down on these long websites. So it was a gift for my company. We can do a raffle.
Hey, John, just so take a look at the chat. There's a link to our forums there. And that's a great way for you to continue to stay in a dialogue with us. It's just where we hang out around various themes, from hand tools to lasers to CNC, etc. So let's go back and put the stride back into what Tom was doing and wrap that up.
Thank you.
Tom, take it away.
Hey, one question, John. Where are you located in North County?
I'm in Encinitas, so if you know the area, I'm in Leucadia.
Oh yeah, I just live a little north of you. I live in Oceanside.
Oh, nice. I just had a cable guy here who was driving to Oceanside, and we were talking about how great Oceanside has progressed. I love it. I mean, is Hello Betty there? I don't know what it's like after COVID, but Oceanside is the up-and-coming place in San Diego, I think.
Okay, Tom, sorry.
Go ahead.
There we go.
You good to go?
Go ahead.
There you go. No, hey, I'm just as new as you are, so don't even think about that, because heck, I've just started and just trying to learn. And like I said, I got a notebook about an inch thick of I messed ups. But on this one right here, you had brought up something, Travis, in reference to the wording. I've got that in vector. Do you think that might have been what was on that clock for the wording? Maybe that was in some type of another form that would give it a jagged mark?
So what Doug was describing is a super cool feature in Lightburn. When you're doing a layer inside of that box in the upper right-hand corner of Lightburn, and you're setting your power and speed, you can also choose the mode. And we always think about whether we're going to do fill or we're going to do line. Well, the third option in that is fill and line. So it'll do the fill and then it'll go around the outside edges of that vector and clean it up really nicely. And so, like Doug said, you get a really crisp output when you do that. And frankly, I believe that there are a couple other options there nowadays too. I can't remember what they are, but for right now, what Doug was talking about was the fill and line. And give it a shot. You can actually watch it do it after it's done its etching. It then goes around and cleans off all the edges by following the vector around the outside of the letters.
Well, that this one right here, this was sanded down more times than I can think of in reference to doing the dog, because I only had 3 pieces of this wood. I already had one I knew I was going to use, but trying to get the detail, and that was rough. I mean, that was one of the first dog pictures or pictures that I'd actually fixed up, but that was a booger for a minute.
Well, that's where coming in and playing with contrast. I don't have a picture here, but I did a tile of my dad. My dad passed just this last year. So for his service back east, I sent my brothers a tile that had different pictures of my dad in there and the Indianapolis racetrack. But there were just some dark spots in some of the pictures, and I had to go out and basically just lighten those up. The racetrack was going to be way too dark, had to lighten that up. So you find yourself working with those images, and you might have been able to do something like that with the dog to help lighten up the background and bring the characteristics of the dog, forward.
Did you do that in Lightburn or another program?
I did it in GIMP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Photo editing can make a big difference in your results.
Yeah, if I may add to that, I would say in addition to GIMP, it might be worthwhile taking a look at Affinity Photo.
Yeah.
Affinity is about $50, but it gives you a lot better usability, and it gives you the closest thing you're going to get to Adobe Photoshop.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, this is Rob. I was going to mention that earlier too, that Affinity Photo I just started using. I'm still learning, but for $50, for $59, whatever, for lifetime subscription, you don't have to keep paying a subscription. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Also, right now, I think they have their Christmas sale. I think it's $40 right now, and the accompanying package, Affinity Designer, is also very good in terms of supporting a whole litany of outputs. So for vector design, it's really fantastic. Just take a look at I don't know if anybody remembers, is the URL affinitysoftware.com?
It's Affinity, depends on which one you're looking at, I guess.
I'll tell you in a second here.
Okay, maybe you could put it into the chat for us.
Okay, it's affinityserif.com.
Ah, okay. So like a font, got it.
That's a .com.
.com, yep.
That's in the
Affinity-serif here. Where's the chat? I'll post it.
Yeah, please.
Paul already posted it, so.
Oh, okay.
Paul's usually very quick at that.
This piece of wood right here is just over 30 inches long, and it's just shy enough to actually fit into the base of the laser. So this was the biggest one that I'd done. But on this board here, that picture of that barn was great-grandfather's, grandfather's, dad's, and now son, who inherited the property. They actually tore that down, but they wanted something to remember it by. But their last name was Youngblood, and
Is that board from the barn?
That is from the barn.
Oh, great memento.
Yeah, they kept that, and they had a picture of it, and that's the only board that was left. And one of the guys that I work with, he went ahead and done the state. Actually, he's cut out all the Tennessee states that I've got. And he says, man, what do you think you can do with it? And I said, give me a piece of, practice. He said, there ain't no piece of practice. Now you talking about nervous?
Sometimes like being a photographer at a wedding. You get one pass.
My lands. But John, you was asking about a another program or something to use to convert those. Image R, it's free. If you can put up with a ton of advertisement, it'll do. That's what I do all my pictures on, is I use Image R. Take your photo. Once you go to that site, you ain't got to sign up. You ain't got to do anything. It's free. And it's got a step-by-step. You download it. You crop it. You basically size it the way you want it. And there's going to be a black box. After you crop it, there's going to be a black box pop up to the right of the photo that says enhance mode or enhance, something like that. Click on that. On the left-hand side, one of the guys mentioned about contrast. I've never really played with that a lot, but I'm getting ready to start doing it more because there is some good things in there in reference to contrast, sharpness. That'll be a good one for you if you wanted to check it out.
That's awesome, Tom. So, guys, what is the final format that, and I'm sorry for, again, being so basic, but what is the final file format that's needed?
So, John, think of Lightburn. Think of Lightburn as the place you bring your outputs from other packages together.
Yep.
So all of your typical vector formats, your SVDs, your Adobe Illustrators, your DXFs, etc., and all your raster file formats from BMP to JPEG to PNG, etc. All those are just like your building blocks.
Okay.
Put them all together in a package and bring it in, and it just imports those standard formats. Once you have them in, you can save them in the proprietary Lightburn format, but that also includes all of your laser control information.
Okay.
So that's what the workflow is. You create your stuff outside of Lightburn, even though it has some pretty decent design features, and then you save it in the native format. But all your resources outside that you probably already have, they're, just I'll put them in the standard formats, and then you can just bring them into Lightburn.
Okay, so there's no format that it's a proprietary format that you can bring in other things.
Yes, it's quite open to that, and he keeps adding new things. Like, for instance, he's been improving his PDF support. Just so you know, we're talking about Lightburn. The company's URL is lightburnsoftware.com, and you can download it and play with it, fully functional for 30 days. We in the association have a deal where you can get a 1-year subscription for $20, 75% off. So if you do get to the point of being that interested, let us know, and one of us can give you the code.
Awesome, cool, that's great.
Go ahead, Tom.
That was I was going to bring that picture. It's just a close up of the barn. That was done with Image R. Actually, all the photos that you saw or seen are done with Image R.
Ooh, look at
this
that.
one I posted with our group. Guy sent me a picture of an antelope that he had taken, and he wanted a plaque made up. If you take your finger and rub it across the nose and the antlers, the burn on that, I still think that's one of the best burns I was able to accomplish. But
Tom, the nose doesn't look wet.
It don't look wet to you?
Because he's dead. It's not wet anymore.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Thank you. Those pictures that I showed earlier in reference to a test burn, this was the final that I came up with. And I mean, you saw how dark the cheek and the eyes and everything, because these people are inside of a restaurant, and you got to plate of food behind them. But where they had those hats on, it gave that shadow effect.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I had to do so many tests. But here you can see good, right around the crease of the cheeks and stuff like that.
So, Tom, what you've been hearing from people who know how to use photo editing software is what your approach has been is, I've got an image, what's the best I can get out of it? And what they're saying is you can go affect that image by lightening under the visor and maybe darkening on the cheek and get much better results, because you're starting with an improved image, one that will get better results. So that affinity photo that James brought up is a great suggestion for how to really get a capable piece of software for doing exactly that.
Well, that's what I've got that one written down, and it takes you a while to get in and learn. a new software, a new program, something
It
that
does.
got fixed up. But if it's going to help me, because it takes me a lot of time and a lot of notes just to figure out what the settings that I'm going to use to get a good photo. When somebody sends me a photo, I zoom into it. I ask them to email it to me. That's normally how I get the best photo. But I'll zoom in, and if that picture pixelized, if it just gets kind of blurry, it's not going to work out good for me. But you're saying that if I use this other program, I can even enhance those?
Well, there are many different techniques for photos. What we've really been talking about is your ability to lighten and darken areas, dodging and burning areas. There are lots of other things, for instance, increasing contrast. You can increase the gamut, which is the range of darkness to lightness. There are a lot of things you can do, but it really is a good starting point to just learn how to do what's called dodging and burning. Dodging makes areas darker, and burning makes it lighter.
So Tom, if you can go back to that picture that you had before. So what your technique has been to use something that changes the entire picture and you try to find something in between across the entire picture that gives you something that looks okay. And the woman's face looks really good here, but you can see where the guy's cheek is whited out.
Whited out on that right hand side.
And that's where, by using one of these software packages and using the technique that you actually use with your mouse and go into a certain area and lighten things up and darken things, you can affect that. Like the deer picture before, the top, the forehead of the deer was gone. It was whited right out. Whereas a little bit of work in the graphic package could have darkened that a little bit so that you still got the outline.
Bring out that hairline.
Yeah. So that's you're still doing amazing stuff. That's why I was saying though, that as you get into this and you start like looking at your own pictures and going, oh man, how can I modify that and make that a little bit darker? That's where the graphics package comes in.
Yeah. One of the other things you could do is you could actually cut out the faces. So you could cut out the background if you don't want the background. So, I mean, there's a lot you can do to refine and focus what elements of the picture you want to present.
Is a simple way of looking at it less gray shades of gray and more black and white, and just using tools like dodge and burn to somehow bring out the cheek in this example, right? So we need to adjust the brightness, but the machine, the equipment itself needs to have less gray or shades of gray and more like, where do I burn and where do I not burn, right? Is that like a way to look at it?
I'll just give you my answer, which is the cheek is blown out. There's not enough detail there. So you would like less light in that area to reveal the creases, the bristle, the detail in his ear. Under the visor on the right side of her face, it's still quite dark. You'd really like to be able to lighten that up to see the definition of her eye, the aspects of her face that are furthest to the right from our perspective. And you can do that with dodging and burning. What Doug was saying is that what Tom is doing is he's doing the whole picture and trying to get the best result with the current picture. But if you use dodging and burning, you can change features inside of the picture to get it more ready to get a good job across the entire picture. And in this example, you could make the cheek a little darker, and you could make her eye under the visor a little lighter, and you'd end up getting a nice complete picture rather than looking at this and saying, the cheek is a little bit blown out, and I do see there's some shade under the eye. You just say, oh, it's two great faces. But it requires learning the right software and the technique, and then doing as Tom does, which is, trial and error until he gets the right settings.
I show you a bunch of practice.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to take this
I
photo.
go back, I use GIMP all the time, and when I come across something and I don't remember, I just go to YouTube again and just look I just search for the techniques and
but they're general imaging techniques.
oh yeah.
to the hardware, because I mean, if this image were given in the perfect quality and it was grayscale and very smooth, it would appear that way on the on the wood if as long as the adjustments on the equipment were correct.
Right. Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I kind of feel like I'm jumping in on something that's way over my head because I haven't purchased equipment yet. And one of the final questions, and I'll stop talking, is there any equipment I should look for because I want to purchase my own equipment and
join the shop first and go down and take Travis's courses. And it's a great way to really pick up and figure out what it is you want. Because you do that, you use the laser cutter. I mean, the laser cutters at the shop. You take the couple of classes, and you'll quickly start figuring out what it is you want, what size you're going to need.
Wait till January. I mean, we've got this thing called COVID, so that's.
But if you wanted to do something at home with a toy, what I just put into the chat is what many of us purchased because it was almost a year ago. Since then, there's been what did you call yours, Tom? It was the LaserMaster 2?
Yeah, LaserMaster 2.
It has a much larger cutting area.
And they've got another one that just came out that has a 400 millimeter bed, I think.
But the reason for pointing you in this direction is, one, it works with light burn, and two, it's remarkably affordable. So the version that most of us bought was under $200. You got a bigger one. How much was yours? How much did yours cost, Tom? You're muted.
It was $189.
$189. So you can get into this very easily, and the skills that you pick up are quite transferable to the shop lasers because we're using the same software there. We just have much bigger and more powerful lasers in the shop.
Awesome. Look for the deals. Look for the.
So I think, Travis, this is Rob. I think you might have answered my question that I was going to have, but I want to make sure is Tom's stuff looks bigger than what I'm used to being able to do on that Ortur, which is a 400 by 430, and I've only played with it once or twice, so I'm deficient in my learning skills. But Tom, you said something about 30 inches, and I was just wondering, was there a tiling feature or something, or is your bed bigger? Because on the laser, I can make something longer, just not wider.
I can make something longer, yeah, but I cannot go any wider than. Let's see, I've got
so light burn and that software has a tiling feature similar to CNC's.
Yes, it's called print and cut.
Called print and cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, for instance, on some of our lasers, like Alan's and mine, there's no pass through, so we're really restricted to the size of our bed.
Yeah, but on the Ortur,
correct.
You can't.
Correct. Exactly. And
well,
if
see, on my bed, I've got 20 inches by roughly 17 inches or 16 inches. So if I come in on that side, like what I've done, I can run a long piece, but as long as my burn area, and you'll notice within what I've done for the name, I was able to put that name within my sector and then move it over, put me an extension over here to where I can lay the wood, make sure everything was flat, get my distance right. And then I was able to burn my house or the barn.
That doesn't sound good. To burn your barn? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Tennessee slang.
Hey, Tom, I actually switched away from you because a lot of people were talking. I figured we'd do that. Do you want to go back to your pictures? Or are you winding up?
I just only got I think one more.
Okay, let me bring it back to screen sharing with you.
All right.
Yeah, I don't even see the LaserMaster 1 very much on the Ortur Facebook page. Everybody's using the LaserMaster 2.
LaserMaster 2. If you looked at it, the pricing, it's all over the place. I think it's normally 206, 200, something like that. But you can always find deals. Was it LEX or something like that?
I like the fact that I can do this.
Right, that's what we have. Yeah,
that I can just lift it up. It's a small unit, and I can do tiles and small things.
Well, see, and that's good to go. And yeah, it was that AliExpress. I would probably, I've read a lot about, and it took me a better part of a month and something to get my laser back, or to get.
Oh, it takes a while. You should see how long some of our people.
Oh yeah.
It's like, good Lord. This one right here, this is something else I've tried and went into, but
cool.
This was another piece of that wood, and I knew that I wanted to do this, but these are actual Civil War finds that I found around here in Tennessee, and I wanted to do some type of a plaque or something I can lay on the coffee table or lay up on the mantle. I've already taken this out of the mold, and I've peeled everything away. A buddy of mine's got it. He's trimming off the edges, and basically it's going to be a bunch of sanding to get it down.
So this is a second new hobby for you, Tom?
No, I mean, it's still dealing with the burn, because on the top left, I'm going to put December 31st through January the 3rd, 1864. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to burn Battle of Stones River.
Perfect.
And, there's guys that's on our group. I've just showed this picture, and I've got people saying, hey, I got this, I'd like to have this, or, how do I get into that? Like, well, you better get ready.
Sometimes you have to say it's very expensive.
Yeah. What I do is I pick out one of them $4,000 or $5,000 lasers and show it to them. And I'll be like, hey, if you get this right here, you'll be high cotton.
There you go.
Let's see here. Apparently it's not letting me.
So Tom, to your point earlier about the level of the material, is it really critical that it's all flat? Flat.
Level.
That it's very sanded and smooth before you start. Does it make the engraving easier if the surface is perfect and you don't have to adjust anything? I mean.
Oh Lord, yeah. If you're going from point A to point B and doing a burn, and if that is all level, everything's good to go. There's no, we call it character in the wood. But if you don't have anything like that, you're just working with point A is the same as point B. And I found out, as long as the wood color, y'all guys correct me if I'm wrong, the wood color, as far as the rings on my rounds that I burn, if the rings within, say, the first 3 or 4 inches are dark, and then the outer layer is light, I'll have a lighter burn in that lighter wood and a darker burn in that darker wood.
Right. So when you go from the softer to the harder, or there's characteristic in the wood that changes, that can affect the burn. But John, in general, think in terms of when you were a kid and you used a magnifying glass. You had to be in focus for it to do anything. And depending upon the lens that you have on a laser, there's a certain movement in the Z direction, which is up and down, where you can still get results. At the shop, that's around, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, something like that. So the general answer is yes, you need to have a pretty consistently flat surface, and it needs to be flat in the XY plane, because you don't want the distance between the laser head and the material to change over the course of its doing a cut. So there's only a certain amount of variability up and down the chemical results.
Just for those differences in variation.
That's not much that it adjusts. It's just that the focal point has a little bit of give above and below. And so you can get a lens that has a very long focal area and you'll have lower effect in terms of power, or you can get one that has a very concentrated focal point and you have very little up and down flexibility. But suffice it to say, think about your magnifying glass, and you knew that it was only going to start smoking if you had it just the right distance from the material. That's what's happening in the laser. The laser beam is being focused on a point, and that point is being guided across a surface. And there you can see in Tom's example there how the different woods respond differently. Go ahead, Tom.
That's so cool, Tom. That's awesome.
If you look at that center ring, it's a darker, it's just it was darker, and you can see the white ring on the outside. Nothing was put on that, but
it looks
this
awesome.
was the one I was going to tell you when I showed you the one that was burnt in the stained wood from the church piano. This one here,
Yeah.
I can actually see the small trees and stuff in the back. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So to the point of the software used, if you would have put a circle around it and tried to eliminate those corners, and it just would have been a blur effect, maybe to eliminate those corners.
Well, if you look on the corners of that picture, you can see where it's kind of rounded. In ImageR, you can adjust that to bring it in more and more, and you can make it round. Now, what I'm going to do, what this has taught me here is try, if I do have something like that, get my millimeters as far as up, down, left, and right, see what the diameter of that is. When you go into ImageR, if that black circle is 100 millimeters, then I want to make it 100 by 100, basically try to put it on there. Or the next time I go over to Hobby Lobby, or I find me a piece of wood, I want more darker wood going out to the side. That'll probably help me out a little bit.
I think it's a neat effect.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it still looks like the old time rectangular kind of pictures. That's how the old things were, but the round dark part kind of emphasizes the fact that there are tree rings. I think it's a really cool effect.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
just
see
sort
what
of
you mean now, yeah.
translucent. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a cool effect.
Cool.
Oh Lord. Let me see here. But hey, that's I'm going to come off of the camera for the phone.
Okay. You want to switch to the phone, you say?
Negative. I'm going to come to my computer and leave the phone.
Okay.
Basically, I mean, I feel like I've taken up a bunch of y'all's time.
Hey guys, can I tell you?
Cool.
Can I tell you that Tom was concerned about whether he could talk 15 or 20 minutes?
You have a problem.
I don't think we had a problem there. Any other questions for Tom? I thought that was a really great conversation, guys.
Yep.
Hey, Alan, if you don't mind, I have like 5 minutes worth of material if people want to stick around for it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm interested.
Okay, so I want to show you something first, which my daughter just sent me yesterday. She was very proud of her guy because I gave him my Ortur, and the guy's an engineer, and he just frankly loves it. He just is totally gaga about using this thing. And she sent me something that he had just done that looked really, really good. And so I thought that I'd show it to you and then surprise you with how incredibly effective and how incredibly cheap it was to do. So he's sitting here making gifts for his family, and he's using his little Ortur laser to make key fobs. Now, when I show you this, what stands out to me is one, the guy is obviously incredibly intent on positioning. That's really very, very good positioning. The other thing that stood out to me was what kind of contrast it was. It was really stark. And she described this as a leather key fob. So I said, wow, that's kind of impressive. So I pressed on it a little bit further, and I asked her to turn it on the side. And so when I turn it on the side, you can see it's obviously not leather. It's a laminate of some sort, where on the top is a leather colored material, but just below the surface, under the very, very thin skin, is a black material. So I said, well, gosh, that's kind of cool.
Looks like faux leather.
It does. It's exactly right. And that's why she had said it was leather. And so I said, well, where did he get this stuff? And she sent me a picture of this. I'm sorry that I can't do any better than this because it's on my Mac and this is in photos. But these are leather binders. There are picture frames. There are pens, all of them covered with this material. And I said, okay, wow, this is pretty impressive. I wonder where he got that and how much it cost. And as a consequence, I found out what the URL was. Let me get there for you guys. and share my screen. Right here. Okay, so this is the place. Look at the price for these things. These are the individual leather sheets of this stuff. And the whole place, I get put the, let me send you the location in a chat window here.
Leather-like.
So yeah, it's leather-like, but let's see blanks. Let's see what blanks are. No, leatherable, laserable. In any case, all these products, the key fobs, the picture frames, the pens, etc., were. And she said that fob was $2. So I'm going to send you the link to the site right now, because I think that's probably the only thing you really want to take away from this, which is the URL.
See, if Tom sees those, he's going to have people asking him to make him those things.
Yeah, and the fact that he could crank it out with the Ortur is just what really stood out for me. So since they're customizable, since there's high contrast, since they're so cheap, this is the page that I just showed you folks. They've got a lot of other things. In the past, I've purchased things from these people. Do you guys remember the multi-color acrylic laminate that we have? It might be red, yellow. It might be black, white, black. All those kinds of things. This is a place that also sells that. So for CNC with a very oblique angle, say a 60 degree or a 90 degree or a 120 degree, you can actually do beautiful cuts. Rob, you just started doing a bunch of these for the shop, right? Are you still there? Rob just did a bunch of these for the shop. Do you happen to have one around, Rob? Of those,
they're upstairs. I can go get one.
Okay, no, it's not important. What I'm telling you is that when it comes to interesting laser and CNC materials, this place is worth getting to know. And I didn't know that you could get things as inexpensively as what my daughter tells me he paid for these fobs, but just worth us knowing about. The other thing that I wanted to share with you folks.
So Travis, and that website you just gave us has the double colored material and stuff.
Yeah, that's where I got some originally several years ago. But the stuff that you're using, I got at the scrap bin at ePlastics Ridout. They just happened to have a whole bunch of them one day, and I just picked up as much as I could. So that's where that stuff came from.
Got it.
The other thing I wanted to show you folks was early on, we were just messing around at the shop. This is like, we only had one laser at the time, like three years ago or something. And we wanted to be able to mark on metal, but we didn't know how. And so we were looking around for this, some inexpensive way of doing it. And I think it was the guy that we all have crossed paths with at one point, that YouTube channel, Sadler Media, the guy in the UK who has our kind of laser and has spent the last 5 years doing, I think, almost 250 videos looking into different facets of these Chinese lasers. He started marking on different materials like glass and metals, etc. I was trying to find an inexpensive way to do it. And this stuff right here, I can't see my camera, just a second. Okay, so this stuff right here, it's called dry Molly Lube. It's a spray-on lubricant. And what you do is you just spray it on to metal, for instance, or glass, and then I don't know what the chemical process is that's taking place. And frankly, it's not a super good result, but at $10 a bottle, it was the way we were going to start off at the shop, with trying to mark metal and some other things like getting better results on glass. And yet that wasn't really contrasty enough. And there was this one product that is relatively renowned. It's a family of products. It's called Surmark. Really costly, but it is really good at getting those high contrast. And this is something I did on a laser blade 3 years ago. I tried to do something in preparation for this call, but unfortunately my bottle, my can, the lid popped and it doesn't work anymore. So this stuff is a Surmark competitor. Surmark, as I'll show you in just a second, is probably the premium brand. This was one that was sort of an off brand, but much less expensive. And just by way of example, you can just see the kind of mark it leaves behind. You spray it on, you laser, cut, or etch, and then you simply rinse it off afterwards. And it's a very permanent black result that you have. And so I was just curious about replacing the can that I had, which was not good anymore. I went back to my old site and I said that right here, let me share that screen. Right here in Amazon, you can see that, well, this isn't Amazon, but it's the same price on Amazon. This is their site, laserbondingtech.com. These guys sell a can of 12 ounce for $70. And it's really, let me see if I can just zoom in on this. I'll go to the Amazon page where I did a look at all of the Surmark products. So are you guys still seeing my Amazon page where I have a row of cans? Okay, so this is the stuff that I got a few years ago. 10 bucks, inexpensive, great way to get started. Not a super high contrast result. If I knew where it was, I had some examples around here I could show you. It's kind of like a dark gray, nothing crisp, okay? Surmark is the premium product. And when you want to do metal, for instance, or metal and ceramics, they have different ones for different materials. You can see you're over $100 to do that. I came back here, saw that my material right here, this LBT, was still 69 bucks. And then I came across this guy right here, which is 49 bucks for another 12 ounce can. Don't know anything about it, but 143 reviews and 4.5 stars. I looked at it, I thought, okay, let's take a peek. And this stuff, if I were doing marketing, I would be putting my best results out there, okay? But here is a nice example of really stark contrast on shiny chrome metal. So who knows what it looks like on a lot of other examples. Here is an example of a $50 can of spray that you can put on various surfaces. Let's see what materials it says.
That's awesome.
So here you have, without the spray, you put the spray on, it looks like that gray film on it. And then you go ahead and mark with your laser, and then you rinse it off, and you get that permanent stark contrast.
That's great, Travis.
Pardon?
I said, that looks great.
Yeah, it does. And I can't say how great just because this is marketing material, but at 50 bucks, it's certainly worth a try, right? Here it even says what the settings are that you'd use. Now for a CO2 laser, a minimum 25 watts, fiber. So it doesn't have a diode laser setting here, but I'd imagine 25 watts at, I don't know how to read their speeds here, 15 to 30% speed. I'm not sure we could do this on an Ortur, is I guess what I'm leading up to. I was trying to figure out what materials they do. There's David's famous grid for testing results. But this is an area that's worth getting to know because it is something which, when we were talking about getting consistent results, when Tom showed us the tile where he put on 2 coats of orange and 1 coat of black, today you may have a slower hand, or tomorrow the can may choose to spray more. Getting consistency is tough. But this kind of a product will make that consistency a non-issue because it's chemically reacting to do what it does. And let me just see if I can give you an example. This one is for ceramic and glass. So you can see that it's a notion in the bigger picture of applying something on different materials, laser etching, and then rinsing off that material and leaving a mark. But there's obviously a different formulation for ceramic and glass. This one right here is for metal. This one's actually for lubricating hinges. But
and it takes an act of Congress to get that dry Molly Lube off of the metal.
Because it is meant to be a lubricant.
It's meant to stay on there, yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't tried any of these other things, but I was thinking I'd love to try Surmark, but not pay as much. So I was trying to see what size bottles. They have some 2-ounce bottles here. They also come in a liquid form. Oh, I bought a bunch of these a while ago. It's a related topic. I'll just take this quick digression. You can buy these cards, and essentially they are pieces of aluminum. So they're sheet aluminum, the size of a business card, but they already are coated with the Cermak-like material. And so you just put it under the laser, and in this particular case, I was wrong in saying it's the Cermak-like material. It's exactly the opposite of a Cermak-like material, because whatever you etch, it just burns away, and you reveal the shiny metal underneath, and you end up with
silver letters and black card.
Or the vice versa, if you just did you etched off everything else and left the black behind. So this is a really fun and inexpensive way to get into that. And let's just see whether or not it says anything about the power levels that are needed and whether you could do that with a 5-watt laser. No clue there, but I suppose if we went into the comments and the questions that are asked, we could find out. In any case, the two topics I wanted to bring your attention were this material source, Johnson, I think is what it's called. What were they called again? The company name was Johnson Plastics, and how it might be worth roaming around there to see if you can get some raw stock to work with on some interesting things. If this was a month ago, you might have been able to do a bunch of interesting Christmas gifts, for instance. The other thing was to take your laser in the direction of marking on metals. And I sort of introduced the low-end $10 can, which doesn't yield great results, to the Cermak type material, which does really great contrasty stuff, but can be pretty expensive. But we now have cans of 12 ounce from $50 all the way up to the Cermak, which is around $120.
And Travis, I got that brilliance stuff, the one that was 49 or whatever.
You got.
I got a can of that today.
This one here.
Keep going. That one. Yeah. Only I got the 2 ounce job. It was only $20 or something.
Okay.
Or 24, and it's supposed to cover like 1,000 square inches. So it's like 1,000 square inches.
Okay, great.
It says, right there, it says low watt diode are not recommended on that one.
Oh, right at the bottom there. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to try this, and I'll let you know how that happens.
And it looks, Alan, like it's for, in this case, black on metal. I mean, that's what I'm taking away from the naming. Which makes me wonder, what kind of variety of product is it in the family? Could you get red? What kinds of things would be possible?
Yeah.
Anyhow, we've been at this for. Sorry, Alan. I didn't want to take up too much more of your time on this one, Alan. But I wanted to squeeze those two things in before we ended, since they were on my mind and I had the stuff at hand.
So we're gonna move this to once a month, and we sort of did a once every 2 months because of Christmas and Thanksgiving. So our next meeting will be the 3rd Friday of January.
Okay.
For everybody, so we'll put that out on the shop calendar, and everybody can mark it on their calendars and stuff. Does anybody else have anything? I got a whole bunch of stuff to show, but I figure we can wait that. And I don't do anything except cut laser stuff. So
Can I ask you a question about doing laser etching on large material? Is there any equipment or methods?
Define large.
So I have an 8x10, 5x11 piece of sheet aluminum. And I'd like to,
We're talking feet?
Yes. So is there any equipment that can, or how do you engrave something like that, or etch, or any process for a large? It's basically my front gate, and I'd like to figure out a way to do something on it.
Okay, I'm just going to show you one product which doesn't happen to be constrained by a gantry. Can anybody guess what I'm about to share with him?
Little
second. What?
Little Otor?
No, that would be interesting for moving along, right? You could actually do the
move it around, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that sort of a thing. So I guess one answer, John, would be a laser where you can pick up the entire gantry and through indexing move it across the material. Okay, and so that would be one thing. Anybody else? Just because a lot of you know me, I'm just thinking you'll be able to guess what I'm going to share with them.
Shaper.
Very good, James.
Handheld CNC.
So this is a tool which is basically a CNC, but it's gantryless. It's kind of in the form of a plunge router, and it's guided across the surface by augmented reality. You put down tape of dominoes. This is not the tape, but this is like this is what a domino looks like. And you put these array across the entire surface, and it uses that for very precise positioning. And so you could actually do engraving into metal, light engraving into metal. It would have to be done. It would take a long time. It would be a boring process, but that would be another way you could engrave a large surface because it's not gantry constrained. Although whoever suggested doing the print and cut, where you actually pick up the entire laser and move it along using index marks, that's actually, I mean, that's why the laser that Doug showed us that he has is actually pretty versatile. You can't take Randy's monster and pick it up and move it across a surface, but you could take Doug's little 6x6 laser and
just put it on the surface, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just set it down, and you'd know where, because the laser would make little marks, and you just position it next to those marks, and it indexes down the page. When you go to the Lightburn software site, there's a recent video where he actually demos this. He puts a 6-foot long mermaid through his small laser, and he just sort of progresses her through, and each time he just lines up using these index marks. So that would be another alternative. Anybody else have an idea of what he could do for this 5 by 11 foot metal?
It was hilarious because I actually have a mermaid outline that I live in Leucadia, so it's all about the ocean.
Got it.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
Randy, do you have any ideas?
Use a forklift with mine.
That's only if you can get it through the door.
Right.
That's no problem. You just take a skip. And cut the door out.
Okay, John, what you don't know is that he bought the laser and then he couldn't fit it into the house. He had to actually take the door out and then get the laser in and then put the door back in. Did I get that right, Randy?
Yeah.
All except the last part.
I took the door out.
Yeah.
And then I cut the wall wider, and I haven't put a door back in because it's close to my garage door. I'm gonna have to come up with a bifold or something to put in there.
Yeah. So I don't think there are any other ideas, John, that anybody has had on that.
You can't like mount a device onto something and use it that way.
Oh, actually, Doug, tell them about the Maslow.
Yeah.
Right, but we're talking about a high-powered laser.
Well, right, but if you wanted to use a CNC on across a large surface,
well, under $300-400 kind of thing, right? So
That's what a Maslow is. You can get a Maslow for what?
$300 or $400.
$300 or $400.
Yeah.
Problem is you have to hook it up to Doug's garage door.
Hey, Doug, can you put the Maslow URL in the chat for John?
Sure.
And with the Z or S?
The Maslow is like a crazy idea that it just brings a large bed CNC to a very economic price point. When you see the demo at the website, you'll understand what we're talking about.
I think
Bring your own bricks.
I think they came out with a Maslow 2.
Did they?
I think I got an email the other day that said something about that. I didn't follow it because it's just wild.
Okay. So just so you know, John, he just put the link into the chat for you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Sorry to be again. So,
Hey, everybody's got to start sometime. Don't worry about it, John.
Level, yeah.
But you got to start. You gotta start doing this stuff.
And you got to persist, right, John? Right, Doug?
Yep.
Cool. This is awesome. I really learned a lot, so I appreciate it.
Welcome to the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Travis, hook my phone up.
Say it again, please. Oh, hook your phone up. Okay.
Want my phone in.
I think we're about to get another demo. Let's see what his phone is. Alan's phone. Okay.
Oh, the Maslow is exactly what I was talking about. What I was looking for. Looks expensive though.
No, Doug, how much was it?
Well, I mean, was like $400 for the kit, and then 150 for the router.
Yeah.
And then you got to get the wood. It's
Yeah,
not.
but he's already got the wall.
If you have to, it's basically not a buy it, plug it in, get it to work.
Yeah, right. It's a kit.
You,
Whoa, look at that. Hey, is Tom still here? Tom, you got to see what this guy's got.
Yeah, I'm already knee deep here looking.
Hang on a second.
dizzy.
I'm going to get everybody dizzy. I'm going to change my
audio.
There. I got to mute some stuff here.
Okay. Welcome to Alan's man cave.
There. Yeah. This is the man cave. Oh, look, it's a mess. Oh, and wait, here's all the bad projects that Tom was talking about that didn't make it because of some mistake someplace along the line. But here's my this is my latest box.
Hey, can I brag on you for just a second, Alan?
Sure.
We just did a holiday gift sale at the shop. We raised and are continuing to raise money, but we're already in excess of $20,000 from the event. And the entire 3 days, the entire laser customization undertaking was run by Alan, and he had a regular stream of guys working with him. I think that some of the people who were with him at one point or another were on this call. So Alan's really knee deep into this laser stuff. But John, the irony is that he's president of the Scroll Saw Club, and he doesn't do that anymore because the laser has taken over his life.
So here's the
nice.
So, and then that's the glass one, and then here's a stainless steel one. But this was using that Molly chrome stuff.
That you got that good a result with the Molly. Very good.
Yeah, except you don't want to know how hard it was to clean that stuff off. So I have a alcohol problem because I want to put alcohol on all of my Christmas trees. So I just got through making 25 of these boxes for all of the niece and nephews. So that was a boy box. This is the girl box.
What wood did you use? What type of wood?
It's 3mm Baltic birch.
And Tom, this is the area that you have to get that more powerful laser to get into, just because the Ortur is great for etching, but you still can't make a dent that's not looking like char in 3mm Baltic birch. And yet once you can cut 3mm Baltic birch, this is the kind of stuff you can start doing.
Yeah. So this is my 2 cents worth, though.
Oh, it's 2 pennies in there. Okay.
Then these were my Christmas decorations. This is the back. This is the front.
Isn't this the one that you did hundreds of for kids? And
no,
didn't you customize a bunch of these at the shop?
No, not these. Yeah, I did, but it was the ones you cut out. We didn't have little girl ones.
Oh,
we didn't make any of these. We got to do that next year.
Yeah.
So my daughter just got engaged. So
woo.
There's the engagement, and here's her. This. So she got engaged on the 5th.
Oh, the rings. Yeah, nice.
So and then she wanted it. So she said, "Dad, can you do an ornament for me that says I got engaged, but don't make it too cheesy?" So I sent her this one. Or I sent her this picture. She hasn't
cheesy
yet. So she goes, I go, there you go. That's it. It's not too cheesy. Our COVID fine ornament.
There you go.
The dog. Little snowflake
Hey,
dude.
Tom, do you have any, Alan, do you have any one of your multicolored ones that you stained layers?
No. Well, no, they sold all at the thing.
Oh, they look so good.
And then this is a big one of the same thing. This is what is that? 10 by 6 or 10 by 8, something like that. And then I have a pomegranate farm by default.
Oh, looking good.
So I make pomegranate juice for people. And this is just like a Tabasco sauce bottle I bought off of Amazon.
That's like an elixir of life. What city are you in?
Fallbrook.
Oh, my aunt and uncle live in Fallbrook. I'm going to visit you and get some.
So this is so John and Tom, this is the Frankenstein laser from hell. That's, if you can see here, this is an extension to the laser tube that was put on. This is a half installed compressor controller.
Oh.
We've so I blew my laser up last year about this time. I blew the tube in half. So now I went bigger and bigger and all of that stuff.
It wouldn't fit.
Tom, if you ever get one of these, you'll never go back to that little diode.
Yeah, that's what my wife sprayed up.
So see where my diode laser is?
It's dusty.
The fan is clogged up on that thing just because of all the stuff coming from the big one.
Yeah. So anyway.
Great stuff, Alan.
Yeah, unplug me.
Okay.
Man, he's got stuff for days. That's what I was talking about. You know, how long, does it take to accumulate?
So, Alan, how are we doing? Can you believe we're 2 hours into this and people are still looking at the screen and involved?
Yeah. Because it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And we haven't done it for how long?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Months, so, all right.
But the third week in January, that Friday, 7 o'clock?
Yes. Yes. And everybody come back. Tom, you need to come back. Bring us some more cool looking stuff. John, you need to be here. Be watching for Travis's next laser class, which I don't even know when those are going to start up again.
Who knows?
But all right, does anybody else have anything cool? Since we've been
looks like Randy's got something.
2.5 hours. Oh, I don't see. Oh, Randy's got an elf door.
No. It's a gnome door.
Oh, excuse me.
There's a difference, huh?
My daughter-in-law noticed the gnomes running around her house, and they're trying to get into the tree, and there's no door. So she asked me to make a door. So this is cedar. Right, what I've got here is it's in progress. I have to put 2 doorknobs on here. Well, if they got a door, they want to look outside. So I'm making some windows also.
Perfect.
It's actually got plexiglass in there. And I use the laser as a router. Let me get this apart here. These are just, like I said, it's in progress.
Is it layered?
So I etched out into the wood.
Yeah.
The plexiglass would fit in there.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then my son does, to put it easy, cabinet work, but he's going to scribe the back of these into the tree. So it looks like it's part of the tree.
Cool.
Are you going to finish them or just let them silver naturally?
No, I'm going to finish them with some UV protectant clear coat.
Do you think the gnomes will be happy at that point?
I hope so.
I think you got to make some little gnome faces so that you can stick in the windows when you.
Well, that's gonna be her job. That's why the backs are open. So she wants to put curtains or something in them.
Oh, good.
That before he puts them on the tree.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
You got to put something in there so the curtains move after, and then she'll really be intrigued.
What if you get one of those solar-powered garden lights, small enough that would fit behind that, so it would turn on at night?
That would be neat
There you
to have
go.
the lights in there. Well, I built a lighthouse that stands out in my front yard,
Oh yeah.
and it has windows, and I actually put LEDs in behind the windows so that it comes on at night and lights up.
Very cool.
Nice.
So speaking of solar and COVID and stuff, I'm using toilet paper rolls to make a planetarium.
Wait, show us again. Hold on.
Well, these are just, you can etch constellations, put holes in this,
Oh my gosh.
and then cut up a strip LED for a light, and that'll basically do a
So it's like lying under the stars as they pass by overhead.
Do you have the finished product yet? That sounds awesome.
Wow.
You're still working on it.
oh, I still got to make the holder. I'm doing some FreeCAD stuff now to hold this and basically cover the end so that the light doesn't escape out.
Best use of a toilet roll I've ever seen, Doug.
I know. That's how I approach this. I was like, okay, we've got all these toilet paper rolls. What do I do with them?
I only know who was hoarding all the toilet paper.
You know what's funny about that, Doug, is when we first got the lasers at the shop, I thought, oh, this is great. I'll start saving up all sorts of toilet paper rolls and wine bottles so that people can practice on the rotary. 2 years later, they were all underneath this table, totally untouched. So you put them to much better use than we did.
So yeah, that was the other thing. It got me to pull my rotary out and figure out how to get that all working.
Is that on your Ortur or on your K40?
It came from my K40, but I've never used it in the K40. So I made it work on the Ortur.
Oh, I think you're saying that you got the rotary with your K40 or for your K40, but you only used it with the Ortur.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm getting ready to do the exact opposite because I bought a rotary for my Ortur, but now I'm going to use it in my K40.
So this, I don't see myself here. Let me.
I'll spotlight you.
Okay. So this is basically a $29 rotary. But I went ahead and 3D printed some adapters and used some O-rings so that I could get this, because this one's not adjustable. The Ortur allows these to be, one of these to be adjustable with a tensioner. This didn't have that.
So you compensated with different diameter wheels?
Yeah.
And how did you calibrate it?
Printed some of these.
Yeah.
How
difficult was it to calibrate?
Pardon me?
How difficult was it to calibrate to get it to work?
Not too bad once I found out that the motor that came with it was required much more powerful drivers. So the motor that came with it were like 2.5 amp motors.
Okay.
Was a 2.5 amp motors, and this thing, and what I was getting various skipping. It would move in one direction, but when I moved back, I would lose a couple steps, and it was driving me crazy. I thought it was the software.
So you upped the power supply?
So no, what I did was I have a box of parts because I've made 3D printers.
Yeah.
So I had a 0.8 amp stepper motor, swap that in, and then it worked perfect. Lightburn has a setting for rotaries. Oz added that up not too long ago, and it lets you specify diameters of your rollers, and it compensates for the speeds and stuff.
Oh, sweet.
So the only thing that he hasn't put in it. And that, see what that's great about that is that prevents you from having to change your firmware settings.
Yeah.
Because normally you have, because this connects to the y-axis of your machine.
And you don't want to go back and forth between using the flatbed and using the rotary.
Yeah. So it was sweet. So all that was cool. And I still haven't got him to change it yet. But one of the problems is that the speed that the max speed for moving for
rapid movement.
For rapid movement, yeah. In the rotary, that will move so fast the material slips. Especially when it's a light toilet paper. My other option is to put a weight in here.
Right.
So basically,
but you put O-rings on, which is better than the metal.
Yeah.
That we have on the one that comes with like Allen's.
Yeah, but what I do is I just made wooden rings, and I hot glue them to either end of the glass.
Got it. No, that doesn't slip then. Got it.
Yeah, it doesn't slip. Yeah.
Yep. So
that's cool.
Hey, Alan, just so that people can see another rotary, do you happen to have yours nearby?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Alan's got one of those iconic shops. When you look at it.
No, it's just a big junk cave. So here's the little one that comes with the Ortur, the one Doug was talking about.
Could you hold it up again and still?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
And notice that what Doug was saying is that you can actually move the two spools further apart or closer together based on the slots that are along that top edge there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get, there you go. Maybe you can see it.
Yeah.
So I got that one for the Ortur. That took like 4 months to get here from China. But then this is the one that goes with our big lasers. Let's see. So and it matters, direction matters. So I had to write here.
Right.
Top, bottom, left, right. And then these two rollers, you use these two rollers here.
And just because we can't necessarily can you describe why I was commenting on how things would slip on that? What does the surface of that feel like?
Well, it's a knurled aluminum.
Right. It's just a knurled metal. Yeah.
So I just make a circle. This one's too little, but it fits right here, like this.
And you hot glue it on?
Hot glue it to either end of the glass, and that way I don't have to worry about the glass, because I do most of what I've done is the stemless wine glasses. Well, they just wobble. So if you put a circle on either end, and then I focus, I use the focus sort of in the middle between the top and the bottom. And when you engrave, it's got enough power that it looks okay. It's not out of focus that much. So I haven't tried this little one yet. So that's my so the K40 is in the trailer because I have room for it in here, and I haven't got it fixed up. But that's the next project, is to get the K40 running.
Tom and John, just so you know, the K40 is this design of laser, which is kind of in the $400 to $500 price point, but really you have to spend more to get it up and going. So maybe you're $800. Doug, I don't know if you'd correct me on that, but basically you've got to know your lasers to be able to put that to use, but it's sort of the next step up from a diode laser.
Yeah, they have, I bought mine for under $350. But it was the base model, and I wanted to add air assist as a must, because that helps with everything, especially not catching your house on fire. But so there's air assist, and then there's a good exhaust system that you want. So you end up adding $100, $200 to it. They do sell them, the K40Ds. Those models, there are many of them that have all these upgrades already on them, and even come with the air pumps and everything. But for like $500, $550, you get a 35, basically a 35-watt CO2 laser.
And we bought one for the shop, And before we were done, because we upgraded the controller and all sorts of stuff, it was $1,000 by the time we were done. So it really can be a whole lot more if you want to take it places. And Doug, I don't know if you disagree with me or not, but I think that even the base units, unless it's the K40D, which has a lot of those things built in, you're still going to want to make some improvements.
Yeah, because
you don't really have to, though.
But you don't have to. But your cutting surface on a K40 out of the box is 5x7, right? Or is it 4x6?
That doesn't cost you anything to basically remove some screws.
Yeah, but you have to modify it to get an 8x10 out of it.
Yep, you got to remove 4 screws and pull that big clamping plate out. And then for $10-20 you buy a little scissor jack, a lab scissor jack, and that becomes your bed.
For anybody who doesn't know, the most technically willing to do these sorts of things is a guy by the name of Doug LaRue.
Yep.
I've been around the block. I kind of have a background in everything.
Yeah.
So
What's your mobile number?
So
555.
Yeah.
Right. So anything else, Alan?
No, I don't have anything else. We're just sort of wandering around now, but that's fine. But we probably ought to go in, and it's 8:15, and my wife's going to wonder where I went.
Tom's wife.
Me as well. What are you doing? This is going to be a 30-minute call.
Yeah, well, I think Tom gets the He-Man award because it's 3 hours later back there. He's up past midnight now.
Yeah.
I thank you all. This has been fantastic. I've learned so much. You guys this is so cool. I love this technology, and I look forward to, maybe contributing rather than just listening next time. So
listening and learning is okay. We are all there at the beginning.
Say, John, just realize this is a slippery slope. I met Alan and Travis about 2 years ago, and we won't talk about how much money I'm in on CNC.
wait, John, just so you know, he continues to work just so that he can buy more toys. That's the only reason he continues to work. Okay.
That's where I'm at. I'm starting to get into these types of things because I'm tired of working. So I enjoy this stuff.
Yeah.
It's getting more difficult. So thanks, you guys.
Hey, Rob, just tell everybody whether what I said is true or not.
Which part?
The part that you continue to work just because you want to buy more toys.
Well, that is the primary reason.
Right. Okay.
That's spoiling grandkids.
Right.
Awesome.
All right. I think we better end this before everybody gets too squirrely here.
Great. Thank you very much, Alan.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We'll see you.
Thanks,
Tom.
Good night. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.